All right, so I'm going to do this video that talks about what it's like to live in Bowling Green, Kentucky. I've done videos talking about what it's like to live in Seattle, what it's like to live in Tacoma. Did one talking about what it's like to live in Indianapolis and what it's like to live in Albuquerque. So I kind of worked my way backwards, right? So I talked about the places I lived last and went forward to the places I lived in first. And I guess you can look at it this way. Maybe I saved the best for last. But Bowling Green, Kentucky is my hometown. It's the city I grew up in. Well, I didn't grow up in Bowling Green, Kentucky, to be honest with you. I was born there. I was raised in Smith Grove, Kentucky, which I'll talk a little bit about in a little bit. But Bowling Green, Kentucky, sorry, my allergies are acting up because of the cat. I'm actually allergic to cats, but I have them anyway, so I kind of deal with them. And then he takes his tail and just like brushes it like back and forth, back and forth. Yeah, it's not good. But anyway, so Bowling Green, Kentucky, it is a city that is about 65 miles, depending upon where you are, from Nashville, Tennessee. It's about 112 miles from Louisville, Kentucky. And it is a city that, for the longest time, just didn't really grow. It was the fourth largest city when I was living there. And then in the last few years, it actually passed Owensboro, Kentucky, to become the third largest city behind Louisville, Lexington, and now Bowling Green. And in fact, Louisville would have been smaller than Lexington, but Louisville later decided to merge its county government, so now it's bigger. But that's not what this video is about. Anyhow, so to be honest, Lexington did that too a long time ago. Fayette County and Lexington are pretty much the same thing, so their populations are much bigger than what the true city actually is. But Bowling Green is a city all on its own. It's not taking the entire county of Warren County. If it did, it would be well over 100 and something thousand people. But as of right now, it's around 65, maybe 70,000 people. The city has actually leapfrogged quickly over Owensboro, which still is at the 50,000 mark, which has been that way for a couple of decades. Bowling Green barely stayed in the 50,000 population mark before it shot up beyond that. Now, because it's so close to Nashville, one of the problems that Bowling Green has always had is the lack of air service. It does have an airport, but it does not have commercial air service. There was a couple of years ago a company that came in and offered air service to Destin, Florida, as one of its vacation spots, and also to Atlanta, but it was a poorly orchestrated plan, in my view, because it did not have a code share agreement with any big airline. So if you booked a ticket there and flew to Atlanta, you would have to buy a completely separate ticket to fly on whatever airline you're wanting to use. A lot of times, the way they had this set up, people will have to go back through the security screening process all over again. So folks just decided to drive down to Nashville, which is what they have been doing. So that's one of the negatives. So we're going to do this backwards, talk about the negatives. The negatives of the city is the lack of the airport having true facilities. Now, at one point, the Trans Park, which is on the north side of the city between Bowling Green and Smith Grove in Oakland, is the Kentucky Trans Park. Now, they were supposed to move the airport there and expand it and do everything they needed to do. They felt like if they moved it there, it'd be a little bit farther away from Nashville, and that would entice airlines to say, okay, because the airlines are saying, well, you're so close to Nashville, you should just rely on Nashville. They say the same thing about Cooksville, Tennessee, which Cooksville, Tennessee is pretty big. Or wait, Clarksville, Tennessee. Clarksville, Tennessee is pretty large, and yet they still have to rely on Nashville because they're not that far away from, they're actually closer to Nashville than Bowling Green is. So that is one of the sour spots of the city. Another one that is a little bit of a concern is for a city the size of Bowling Green, there really is not a lot of shopping areas. Everything is located kind of in one section of the city, and you don't really have other areas which kind of are underdeveloped. If you go to the north side of the city, it's kind of underdeveloped, but everything is located down there on Scottsville Road. It's the busiest road in the city, and pretty much everything is there. So the only shopping mall is there, Greenwood Mall. The airport's actually out that way. There's a hospital out that way. All of the retail spaces and things that you can think about are pretty much there. So a lot of the national chains are in that general area, if not on Scottsville Road. So that's a problem because if you are in any other part of the city, you have to navigate down to that area. So it creates nothing but just a cluster of traffic. Yes, I-65 does run through there, and the Natural Parkway, which I think they changed it to I-60 something. So it's now an interstate. But yeah, those are there, but it only adds more to the traffic issues down on that side of town. And then you have Campbell Lane, which actually connects there as well, adds more traffic. Gary Farms Boulevard, which at one point was nothing but farmland, adds more traffic to that. So there are so many different places, and as you go up Campbell Lane, you get to Nashville Road, which also adds to the traffic issue because, again, all of your retail businesses, or the bulk of them, the large chains, are in that general vicinity. When you go to downtown, you don't have really a lot of national chains. You may have a Subway restaurant or something like that, but that's it. And then on the north side of the city, you have a few things that are now sprouting up because of the Trans Park, but there's no shopping mall. So that's the other negative, the lack of commercial air service, and then the lack of really retail diversity across the city. But it does have a lot of cool chains that you're not going to find any other place outside of Louisville and Nashville in the general area. So it is a hub that brings a lot of people in. Now, there's many great things. It has Western Kentucky University. I went there. It's a very large university. I think it's now the second largest university in the state. And it offers everything. It's known for its hill. That's why the team is called the Hilltoppers when you're looking at their basketball team. And it will build your leg muscles up. Trust me, I went up and down it several times. Great university. It used to be kind of a college town, but I think now Bowling Green's big enough to be on just a college town. They've really developed and morphed that university quite a bit. They've added off-site housing. There's a lot of dorms that are actually there as well. So that's quite impressive. It looks like its own downtown because there's a lot of tall buildings. Actually, Piers Ford Tower is the tallest building in Bowling Green, and it's located right there on WUCU's camp. We call it WUCU, but Western Kentucky University's campus. Not only that, but downtown is close to the university, and part of the university is in downtown, the way the city's drawing it up, but it's not really. But downtown is actually starting to see a surge in growth. You're seeing a hotel down there now. There's a hotel that's actually on campus at WUCU that's closer to downtown. They have the baseball stadium, which is downtown. They have the Performing Arts Center, which is downtown, which is bringing in a lot of different things. They're developing SoDo, which is south of downtown, but it's really technically right there in downtown. And it is a pretty large development. There's other things going on downtown as well. And so it's becoming a place to be. It's actually livening up and becoming a destination. With that said, the city is attracting a lot of people. The population is growing so much because there is a very low unemployment rate in Bowling Green. I would say probably in the last 10, 15 years, it has been kind of consistent of having a low unemployment rate. So you're pulling a lot of different people in, and the South is starting to gain a lot of people anyway. But Bowling Green is pulling a lot more people than a place like Owensboro because the city, some people say it's because it's along an interstate. I don't necessarily think that's true. I think it's about a lot of different things, to be honest with you. And General Motors, back in the day, put the only Corvette plant. They had it up in St. Louis. They moved it from St. Louis down to Bowling Green. And now that 1 million square foot building, which is way overbuilt, makes the Corvette. And that's the only place in the world that the Corvette is made. The Corvette Museum is right there. That has expanded a few different times. And they also have a motor park there, motorsports park, where you can actually test drive your own car around a racetrack. It's pretty cool. So they've done a lot of things in terms of that. The city should have more museums, children's museums, art museums, things like that. It's lacking. So that's probably another negative, but it does have a few museums here and there that are quite interesting. They even have an aviation park, where you can see all types of historic airplanes. They even have a train park, which is downtown as well. City has a lot of different parks and things like that that you would find pretty interesting. It's really big in disc golf, believe it or not. Has a lot of golf courses as well for the city of its size. A lot of large parks, from Lampkin Park to Basil Griffin Park, which is pretty cool. We go there to watch the ducks every time we go. So there's a lot of amenities in terms of that. So it makes it a very attractive place. But going back to employment, it decided to build the Trans Park on the north side of the city, and it took over the old Firestone manufacturing plant. And what it did was it brought in another large groups of companies. And since then, you have a company that makes bridges. You have different other companies that have located there. And now that area, which had for years been fought with lawsuits because people didn't want the Trans Park to happen, but it did succeed. Mr. Dan Cherry helped make that happen, as well as other people. But anyhow, the Trans Park now has morphed and is a true economic center. One of the things is Bowling Green and Franklin are known for their manufacturing industry. You will find a load of jobs in manufacturing in those two cities, and they're close together. Franklin's just south of Bowling Green. It's between Bowling Green and Nashville. But Franklin, Kentucky and Bowling Green are known for the large amount of light manufacturing and manufacturing that exists. Bowling Green also has a lot of foreign companies as well that have located there to produce various different products and different things like that as well. It's also the home of Duncan Hines. It's also the home of Fruit of the Loom. Its corporate headquarters is located right there. So there's many others. For a city of its size, it has a lot of economic might behind it. And not only that, a lot of companies come and locate there. But there is a spillover effect. Now, Smith Grove, Kentucky, a city that has sat at 700 and something people for the last couple of decades, is now starting to grow. Now, Smith Grove is getting the spillover effect. There is a construction site going on in Smith Grove where they're developing a huge truck stop. They're developing apartments for really the first time. They're also putting in various different restaurants, liquor, the entire county, because Kentucky is a wet, dry state. So some places are dry in terms of alcohol and some are wet. Warren County was moist. Now it is a wet county. So Smith Grove now has alcohol sales. So they're putting in liquor stores. They're doing a lot of different things. So Smith Grove is a place you probably would want to consider if you don't want to be kind of in a busy city life. Anyhow, that's my view on Bowling Green, Kentucky. Pretty cool place. Loved it. Smith Grove is also amazing as well. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe. And until next time, I will see you. Take care.